Hello YouTube, Sir Dragon X here. I know immigration has been a hot topic lately. Today we're going to go into what's in store for 2022 in the video coming up next. Welcome back to Retired Life in Mexico, No Bull, where integrity and quality of information comes before profit. I was the first YouTube channel to cover the emerging immigration situation in Mexico in several of my videos since it started almost a year ago. I started by covering the current immigration computer upgrades and plans to curb individuals abusing the Mexican immigration system by overstaying their visa with little to no recourse and gaining back-to-back 180-day tourist permits. I know this met a lot of resistance amongst the YouTube and Facebook community, but I felt it was important to bring this relevant information to light. It was so unpopular it was even called fake news, and some in the YouTube community and Facebook community still refuse to believe that these changes are happening. Now, individuals are facing increased issues when trying to obtain tourist permits when arriving at several airports in Mexico. People are constantly posting their experience of not getting the time they requested or 180 days as expected, which was normal practice in the past. So, what can we expect to see from Mexican immigration in 2022? In today's video, I am going to try to break down the future immigration trends here in Mexico. I am also going to try to give possible explanation as to why this is happening and dispel some myths floating around on social media. I will be identifying these trends based on my 30 years of specialized experience in immigration and customs enforcement, my experiences with working hand in hand with the Mexican Immigration and Customs, current political events, Mexican government policies, experiences posted on social media, and experience that I am personally aware of. Now, before I start, don't forget to join our community at the social media links listed below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps me with that YouTube algorithm to get the word out here on YouTube. So, let's identify some of these trends for 2022, shall we? People are constantly posting their experience of not getting the time they requested. Others are posting that they had no problems at all. Which one is it? I expect that this is going to continue into 2022. Unfortunately, there is no black and white formula to getting the time you request. At this time, it is up to the discretion of the immigration officer, and no official guidelines have been released by the Mexican government other than the travel guide that I covered in my previous video. Now, I did mention in one of my previous videos that at the land borders, individuals were not experiencing this issue. Rumors on social media has been that starting January 2022, immigration enforcement efforts will be extended to the land borders. This does make sense since I have mentioned that land border computer systems were the last to be upgraded. Now, although this makes sense, this is nothing more than a rumor and there has been no official stance taken by the Mexican government at this time. Like I have said, only time will tell. I do expect at some point, if Mexico is serious about their immigration enforcement efforts, it will eventually extend to the land borders. Mexico is currently running a program to help those who do not meet the financial requirements for residency and are living here on an expired FMM. This program is called the Regularization program. This program is a program for people that have an expired FMM and can show at least one legal entry prior to 2019. This program has no financial requirement, and this gives individuals the opportunity to get their residency. The rumor on social media was that this program was going away at the end of 2021. As far as I know, this program still exists in some offices, and there was a publication by Immigration as recent as June of last year encouraging this program. I will be placing a link to the Immigration Bulletin in the video description below. I do expect for this program to end eventually, but there has been no official word as to when it will end. Once again, these are just rumors and speculations that have been spread around on social media. Does it make sense that this program will be discontinued soon? Sure, given the stepped up immigration efforts and the fact that this program has been running for over 2 years now, it makes sense. But until there is some official statement that this program is closing, it is still in effect. Another question is, will Mexico step up immigration checks and require original documents upon being asked? Yes, checkpoints continue to exist, but what I have noticed is that I&M officials have concentrated more on inspecting buses. Last year, I can personally vouch that my immigration documents were checked 6 times in a 3-month period last summer. Now, that was because I did a lot of traveling in those 3 months. But since November of last year, though, we have not been stopped at one of these checkpoints, and most of the I&M checks were being conducted on buses when we passed through the checkpoints. Is the policy still current that you must have your original documents providing your legal status with you at all times? Yes, not only is it a current policy, but it is the actual law here in Mexico. Have some people gotten away with copies? Yes, but a large majority are being asked for originals, and if not produced, being detained for some period of time. The main reason immigration is requiring original documents is because these documents have security features that can only be detected on originals. Also, there has been a surge of counterfeit documents circulating due to the large influx of immigrants to Mexico. Which brings me to the last question. Will I get deported if I overstay my visa? The answer to this is it depends. If you are already exiting the country, you will need to go to the immigration office and pay a small fine, and you will be allowed to board the plane and leave. Now, the other scenario is if you get caught in the interior of Mexico traveling through a checkpoint or at a random immigration check and have overstayed your visa, you will be detained in a detention facility and sent back to your country, or deported, so to speak. The time may vary, and you could be detained for a good period of time while they process you and get you on a plane back home. This technically is not an actual deportation. It's what we call in the immigration world a voluntary return. This is why, if you look at the deportation stats on the immigration website, they are low for Americans and Canadians, even though they are being detained and returned on a regular basis. Most Americans and Canadians are voluntarily returned, which is not counted as a formal deportation. Now, an important thing to note is that this infraction will be placed in the immigration computer system and may affect your ability to obtain an FMM later if you attempt to return. But here's the good news. Since it's not an actual deportation, it should not affect you if you are applying for residency. So, what's the reason for the sudden change of immigration policy in Mexico, you may ask? There are a lot of factors affecting these changes, but I'm going to try to explain these factors affecting immigration as simple as I can, so bear with me, because it's a very complex political topic. First and foremost, immigration has finally built out an infrastructure to enforce immigration laws that have always existed, but were not enforced due to lack of technology and manpower, not to mention deep-rooted corruption within the immigration system. Another important thing to note is that Mexico, up until this current president, was run for over 100 years by 2 institutional parties who placed little to no importance on immigration issues. This led to the deterioration of the immigration system as a whole. Up until recently, most immigration processes were still being conducted by hand, and computer automation was almost non-existent. These technology upgrades and personal changes started with the election of the current Mexican president. The president vowed to root out corruption within immigration when he took office in 2019 and fired over 600 top immigration officials in his first 3 months in office. He also vowed to upgrade immigration infrastructure in order to make immigration officers more accountable for their actions. You see, these systems were not built just to track individuals entering and leaving the country. These systems were also built to track the actions of the immigration officers as well. I actually experienced this firsthand. It just so happens that when I was applying for residency, the president had just been elected. It took me over 9 months to get my residency approved because the president had fired the head of the immigration office where I applied, and there was no approving official willing to approve applications in fear of being fired also. Basically, immigration processes came to a halt for several months while I was waiting to get my residency approved. Good news is that thanks to these computer system upgrades, most people normally walk out with their residency card the same day they apply. Now, another interesting thing that happened while immigration was upgrading their computer system that threw a wrench into everything is that a new United States president was elected. That, along with worsening conditions in Central America and Venezuela, people started a mass migration through Mexico headed to the United States, hoping for more lenient immigration policies since the new U.S. administration had stopped the Stay in Mexico program. Since then, the United States has faced a major immigration crisis and has placed major pressure on the Mexican government to step up immigration efforts to stop the influx of immigrants into the United States. This has not only forced Mexico to step up its immigration enforcement efforts, but it has also forced them to apply the immigration law to everyone. You see, basically, Mexico went from lax and selective immigration enforcement to extreme enforcement overnight. You see, the law never changed. I actually covered the laws in one of my previous videos. The laws being enforced are not new laws. They are just being enforced now due to political pressure and an increased capacity to enforce them. So, what does all this mean for expats in 2022? Well, the answer is nobody really knows and only time will tell. The trend I see is that Mexico will continue with this current system, which at this point makes no sense, and there have been no official statements made by the Mexican government. Also, all the theories and speculation going around on social media are just that. Supposedly, there has been posts circulating of a high-level immigration official being interviewed on the radio, which lays out these theories. To date, I have been unable to confirm that this interview ever took place. I can also tell you from personal experience and working hand in hand with the Mexican government that no official would have made statements to the news media unless an official statement had been released first. Now, do these theories make sense? Well, in my professional opinion, having worked in the immigration field as well as with the government of Mexico, yes, they do make sense. But at this time, we must proceed with caution in believing everything we see and hear on social media. What I can say is things have definitely changed. The Mexico of 2 years ago is not the same Mexico of today. When someone tells you that immigration accepted copies of their immigration documents 2 years ago at a checkpoint, or 6 months ago I got my 180 days on my FMM, just be aware that what happened 6 months ago or 2 years ago may not apply to what may happen today. So, where am I going with all of this? Just be aware and stay current with what is happening. Keep reading experiences on social media, but also keep in mind that there may be more to the story when a person didn't get their 180 days. What you need to realize is that the immigration official behind the desk has heard it all. They listen to 1,000 stories and excuses a day. Also, I frequently see people trying to game the system by renting return tickets, making flights or hotel reservations that they can cancel later. Look, I spent 30 years in federal law enforcement, and trust me, after hearing it all, you can usually tell who is not on the up and up. When people used to ask me what I did for a living, I used to respond, a majority of my job is to determine when people are lying to me. Look, no lie detector is 100% effective, and I'm not saying anybody is lying, but with enough practice, you can get pretty darn accurate. All I'm saying is be prepared. I know that many YouTubers have started to pick up the immigration topic since it's getting a lot of traction and views, and many on Facebook have their own theories. Truth be told, no YouTuber or person on Facebook has the black and white answer to the current situation, and that includes me. If you get your 180 days and get away with it, consider yourself lucky and call it a day. If you choose not to carry your original documents, Just be willing to accept the consequences. Trust me, the consequences can be worse than losing your documents. Before I retired and was working with my Mexican counterparts, I had the opportunity to visit some of these detention facilities in the past, and you don't even want to spend an hour there. In the end, you have to make your own decisions, but always be aware of the consequences and be prepared to face them if needed. I promise you that I will continue to cover this important issue and keep you informed to the best of my ability. Hope this was useful, and see you soon. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Go check out our private Facebook group at the link listed below. Next weekend will be our inaugural Ask Me Anything About Mexico free Zoom conference and Facebook stream. See you soon.